Welcome to Simmons Says, where I help emerging and struggling writers create intriguing plots and compelling characters to make their stories hard to put down and even harder to forget. It was the worst possible night to be in the wrong place at the right time. But there you were. A gang of thieves pulled off a fantastic robbery. They stole over $16 million and got away clean. On the other hand, you were seen running from the locale, and the word is out. And the worst part is that the thieves stole from the mob. So it's gangland that's looking for the only suspect known, you. And when they find you, they'll torture you for the locations of the cash, which you don't know. Oh, yeah, there's a really good reason why you can't go to the cops either, right? So what's a guy to do except die? Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Simmons Says, and I'm Alex Simmons. This is where we strive to find out what happens next in your story. We're still on a mystery kick here. And what I wanted to help you understand, what I wanted to help you get a handle on in writing mystery stories, short or long, is one of the best ways, at least the ways that work for me and some others that I know. The best way to jumpstart into a good mystery story is to choose the crime first. Now, you might say, why? Why start there? Why can't I start with a character? Why can't I start with a location, something? Yeah, you can. I'm not saying you cannot. There are some challenges doing it that way, but yeah, you could. But let me explain why and how you might want to consider my suggestion. First off, let's think about, okay, you're going to write a crime story, a mystery story. You're going to pick what kind of crime. A lot of people, especially people who are emerging writers, or maybe you're struggling and you want to have a sensational idea. You're going to go for murder first because that's it. Oh, murder comes with suspense and fear and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but you know what? There's a 3 million times, there's 3 million different stories that have murder as the core, right? That means we've seen it a gazillion times. So why not consider something else? Why not consider blackmail, forgery, fraud, embezzlement, counterfeiting, breaking and entry, human trafficking, smuggling, right? Those are just 8 possibles of my list. My personal list is like 26. But okay, let's say you don't start with the crime. What happens when people don't start with the crime? They'll come up with some sort of circumstance, some sort of character, fantastic criminal, or maybe they're thinking, okay, it's going to be a murder story. Somebody gets killed, and this are going to happen. But the setup is weak. And I'll tell you why in a moment. The situation, the crime takes place, yeah, but there's a lot of factors they don't consider because they're already hurrying on to getting the villain running or hiding or whatever, concealing, and then the police or the sleuth trying to figure things out. And they're already caught up in who's going to say what and what kind of cool locations they're going to have. That's an improbable setup. Then you have implausible, stereotypical characters. Your killer is going to be maybe a thug or a gangster or some sort of really cool and efficient assassin. And the police are going to be either police detectives or maybe a private detective of some sort, right? Or maybe a government agent of some sort, the FBI or whatever, right? And you're going to have them go through whatever paces you think are going to be appropriate. But they're going to go through whatever paces you're roughly familiar with because you've seen it in the movies or you've read it in a bunch of books and maybe you've done a tiny bit of research. You're going to wind up with implausible, stereotypical characters. Now, here are the benefits of starting with the crime first. It tells you immediately what kind of villain do you need, right? Whatever the crime is, let's say counterfeiting, you immediately know that at least one factor is how are they counterfeiting? Did they create these plates? Are they using some new technology? And if it's regular old counterfeiting plates, then who's the expert who knows how to use them? Who's the expert who knows what kind of paper to use? Who's the person who's got the facilities that are going to be utilized to generate this? What's the system for distributing the phony money? Right? If it's smuggling or something else, what kind of person would do that? What do they have to know? What's the best locations? These are things you can figure out based on the fact that you know what the crime is going to be. Now, another thing you can factor, if you have counterfeiting, right? What kind of sleuth, what kind of detective, what kind of individual is going to have to try and figure this out? Who is going to go after the criminals? Is it going to be regular city detectives or police officers? Is it going to be FBI? Is it going to be somebody from the Treasury Department? If it's happening in another country, who's involved there? If it's coming in from another country, who does that involve? What kind of agencies, what kind of officials would go after that? Your crime is already telling you what elements you need in order to make it authentic, in order to make it sound as in solid. You've picked the crime. You now have an idea of what kind of person might do it, what kind of person might try and stop it, all right, or uncover it. Right? You already have some knowledge of the items necessary to pull off the crime, right? What kind of locations, what kind of tools, what kind of knowledge is necessary. You have all of those factors already listed for you. And if you don't have the answers to all of them, you understand those are the things you have to answer. Another factor, how long will this crime take? If it's a crime of passion, okay, it happens maybe instantly. If it's contrived or conceived, if it's a crime of revenge, how long did they plan it out? What's the cover up factor afterwards? And how long do you think it's going to take the investigators to figure things out? These are things that you're going to be able to determine based on that crime. Your choice of characters are going to be influenced by the crime. The locations, the props, all of these things are going to be influenced by the type of crime. Even to some degree, the payoff of the story is going to be influenced by the type of crime and the individuals who perpetrated it. Particular violent crime might end with some sort of an action sequence, a shootout, a chase scene, something along those lines. Whereas some subtle crime or something where the criminal, the perpetrator, did something in the heat of a moment and regret it, and they're not a career criminal. So when they're caught, they kind of give up. That's a different kind of ending. Again, choosing the crime gives you information that you can build off of, that helps you lay out your story, that helps you identify the elements you need for your story. Now, my love of mysteries and detective stories and things like that started back when I was a kid. I mean, I grew up watching Jack Warden, Frank Converse, and Kevin Robert Hooks on NYPD. That's the original series back in the late 60s, early 70s, right? I also watched detectives like Peter Gunn, Mike Hammer. I read the Hardy Boys, right? And of course, even on television, I watched some old movies with the Bowery Boys where they were running around in the slums of New York City in the 1940s, and they would get involved in somehow stopping crime or whatever. So I was always fascinated with mysteries and catching crooks or unraveling clues that led to the downfall of whomever. And even as a kid, and I'll just share this with you, because again, our enthusiasm and our passion for our storytelling does help set the energy and the commitment that we bring to the page, to the story, to the process. As a kid, when I was in my mid to late teens, I had two buddies that I used to hang out with, Michael and Angelo. And there's a couple of different situations where we found ourselves running around the streets of our neighborhood trying to solve thefts. In one case, it was a bicycle shop that got broken into by a bunch of kids, and we were on hand when we saw them escaping, and we actually tracked down at least two of them in our neighborhood, and we actually caught one and got him to let us return the bike to the police precinct. Now, hey, we felt good. It was cool. We actually were those kind of heroes. But what does that do to your imagination? It gives you a sense of, yes, I can accomplish something. I can do something that makes a difference. But the other thing, as a writer, as a creative, you have some vibe, some feel, some recall of what it was like to be in that situation. Luckily, not life-threatening or anything like that, but the chase and the reality of looking for details that would add up to the culminating event, which is figuring out who did it and maybe even retrieving the goods. Again, the process of being aware, of observing things, of taking note, of doing what one would call deductive reasoning. Yes, it's kind of cool when you're trying to solve mysteries, but it's also what an artist does. And as writers, it's what we should be doing more often than not. Instead of being lost in digital stimulation, scrolling forever, or traveling on and keeping our headphones on and sort of blocking out life all around us, we should be aware of the people we see, the places we go, the sounds, the sights, the smells, all of those things, because that's all information for us as writers. And as mystery writers, it is key information for us to utilize and to understand the importance of details and nuances to help our stories feel more authentic, more compelling, more intriguing, more engaging. So I shared all of that quickly just to say that, again, choosing the crime helps you determine so many factors for your story: characters, locations, the equipment or information that's necessary to pull off the crime. All of these things are laid out for you, almost like bullet points, once you choose what is the negative action is going to take place. And to what extent, how intense, how graphic, how impactful on your characters, all of that you can figure out springing off of what crime happened. Okay, next week I will delve a little bit more into the character aspects of it, the villains, the victors, and the victims. Okay, so be with us next time on Simmons Says, when I'll talk more mystery mechanics to you. All right, in the meantime, go forth and be brilliant. Take care.